What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Zoe, and today I'm talking about all of the books that I read in the month of November. Okay, so I read 7 books in the month of November. It was a little bit of a rough month. It started off really well and then just kind of tapered off towards the end there. And I know that this is coming out late. I had a work trip that I went on the first week of December. I went out to San Francisco for my job, and it was very stressful and it was kind of rough for me. That's kind of why this is coming out late. I know that you guys don't really care, but I just felt like explaining. Also, I'm just kind of still, I feel like, recouping from that trip, so I didn't get all dressed up. I kind of just threw on a little bit of makeup and said, let's do this. So let's do this. I don't know what I'm saying. I haven't filmed in forever. Okay, how do I do this? What is life? This is a book haul. This is not a book haul. What am I saying? This is a book. This is a wrap up. That's what this is. Oh my gosh, this is a fiery train wreck. Let's just get started. The first book that I read in the month of November was The Immortalist by Chloe Benjamin. And if you don't know how I feel about this book, then you must be new here. So this was a reread for me. This is my favorite book of all time. This is the first time I reread it. The first time I read it ever was last November actually, and then literally a year later, I decided to pick it up again. It's the perfect full-time read, in my opinion. And I decided to annotate it this time. And I had a lot of things that got to me. I felt all of the things. I actually did an entire vlog of when I read it, the weekend that I read it, and my just thoughts in real time. You can see me sobbing. It's a good time. I'll link it below for you to watch. But this is a book that I have probably hyped a lot on my channel. It's a story that follows 4 siblings, and they're living in New York in the 1960s, and when they're all younger, they go and they visit this fortune teller who tells each of them individually the day that they are going to die. The story unfolds by following in 4 parts each of the siblings and how they live out the rest of their lives with that information. It's a very sad book. It's a very hard-hitting book. It's not a fluffy book that's gonna leave you feeling all warm and fuzzy inside. I did not realize when I was doing my vlog of rereading this how many people would be inspired to pick it up, and it makes me so happy, like so happy that y'all would trust my opinion on a book. I think books are so personal. Like, they're like your favorite song or your favorite musician. Not everyone loves them. They're not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm totally okay with that. I've definitely had to learn that with a lot of people reading this. In hindsight, I wish I would have known so many people were going to start reading it, because I definitely would have done a better job of giving like trigger warnings or just letting you know, like, hey, in the first part of this book, there's a couple of pretty graphic sex scenes, and just letting you know, like, heads up, warning, don't listen to it on audiobook with people listening. I don't know. So stuff like that. And these might be spoilers, so I will hold up my hand, because if you don't want to hear any spoilers, if trigger warnings don't affect you, then feel free to listen and unmute when my hand is down. But while my hand is up, I'm going to tell you some trigger warnings, which might be spoilers. So here we go. Trigger warning for depression and suicide, homophobia, death, loss of a loved one, OCD, anxiety. I don't know, is that a trigger warning? So those are some of the top things that are trigger warnings. But all that to say, this still remains to be absolutely one of my favorite books of all time. I think especially if you are a sibling or have siblings, you've been close to your siblings, even if you haven't been close to your siblings, it just talks so much about life and what you would really do knowing, like, if you knew the day that you were going to die, how would that affect the rest of the way that you lived your life? It was a story about family and death and living your life. It's beautiful. I love it so much. I feel like I've talked about this book so much in the last month, but yeah, this is just an absolute stunning novel. Highly recommend picking it up if this sounds like something you would enjoy. It's beautiful and needs more hype, so read it. Okay, so the next book that I read in the month of November was kind of a random choice for me. I think I got sick. That's right. I got a cold in November and I wanted something that was just going to make me feel better, something that was easy, something that was light, especially after reading The Immortalist and feeling all the things that I did. So on a whim, I picked up The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I know that this is a book that a lot of people really, really liked. I think it came out last year. It follows the story of Olive, who has a twin sister who in the very beginning is getting married. Her twin sister is getting married to this guy, and this guy has a brother. Yes, I always thought he was his cousin for like most of the book, but it's his brother. So the guy that her sister is marrying has a brother, and Olive and that guy's brother are like enemies. I feel like I explained that really bad. But they're basically just mortal enemies. They don't like each other. They don't want anything to do with one another. And it jumps into the story where it's their wedding day and everyone gets food poisoning except for Olive and this other guy that she is enemies with. And they end up, by all these different circumstances, deciding to go on the honeymoon that her sister and her new husband were going to go on, but they can no longer go on because of food poisoning. So it's an enemies to lovers romance. It was so good. It was everything that I wanted it to be and more. I really liked Olive's character. I forgot his name. Ethan, the mortal enemy is Ethan. I loved the setting of them like on this honeymoon vacation while they kind of hate each other. Really cute, really funny. Some of the things that happened were also very funny. I liked the ending. I do wish one critique is that Olive is supposed to be a fat main character, like she's supposed to be a bigger girl, but that isn't really talked about other than like one or two places in this book, and I just wish it was talked about a little bit more. Like that would have just made me love this book so, so much. I know that like the argument to that is that, you know, they don't talk about it because it's just who she is, which is totally fine, but I do wish that it just would have been a little bit more of having like that fat rep in this book. That would have just made me so happy. But other than that, I really did enjoy this. If you're looking for like a fun, light, contemporary romance, just makes you feel good, I totally recommend this one. So cute. I went ahead and gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read, totally switching gears, was Misery by Stephen King. So I read this with Gabby and Jacqueline for a live show that we did in November, which was so much fun. I was so nervous to do it, but we read this together and then did a live show discussing it, and it was just a blast. Loved it. I think that this was a really, really fun book to read. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this book. It's kind of one of his classics, and I know that the movie is really popular. Still haven't seen the movie yet. Really want to though. This follows the story of Paul Sheldon, who is a best-selling author. He writes these romance series, and one day he gets in a car accident, and the person that rescues him from his car accident ends up being like his biggest fan of all time. And so she brings him back to her house to, you know, get better, to fix him up, and she is totally crazy. She is 100% obsessed with him and also just totally off the rails. She ends up kidnapping him and forcing him to rewrite the ending to this romance series because the way it ended she was not happy with, and yeah, she tortures him. It's this whole big thing. He needs to escape. It's crazy. Some of the scenes were crazy. I will never forget them. I'm dying to watch the movie now. I really, really like this one. This is my 4th Stephen King book that I've ever read, and this is my 2nd favorite. My first favorite is The Long Walk, and this one is my 2nd favorite. I really enjoyed this one. I actually ended up enjoying this more than Gabby and Jacqueline. The discussion that we had was really, really fun though. I definitely recommend checking out that video. I will link that one down below as well. If you've read the book, there are like spoilers throughout, so make sure you've read the book or that you don't care to read the book before you watch the video. But yeah, this one overall was great. I just really liked the progression of the awful situation that Paul was in. I thought that even though we're in the same setting and he's doing the same stuff every day, there's just these little like creeping things that Annie, who is the crazed fan who kidnaps him, we watch her slowly fall into like this descent of just madness and breaking point. And oh my gosh, it was just really good. I really liked this one a lot. I liked this one better than Pet Sematary. I don't know what else to say about it. I've had a couple people ask me like they want to read Stephen King, but they're not sure where to start. I would recommend this book to start with or The Long Walk. I started with The Long Walk and I listened to it on audiobook and I really, really enjoyed it. And this one I also really enjoyed. I thought it was fairly easy to digest and it's also not that big. So these are some good starter Stephen King books. I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, now we're jumping into the books that I read for the Buzzwordathon, which is kind of a whole blur. I don't remember a whole lot of Buzzwordathon. I was kind of slowly starting to deteriorate into my anxiety for this work trip that was like the week after Buzzwordathon, and so I think my head just really wasn't in Buzzwordathon. My heart wasn't in it. I didn't have a really good Buzzwordathon experience. I did do a vlog of the weekend I read a book for Buzzwordathon. I will link that one down below if you want to check it out as well. But yeah, Buzzwordathon. Did that even happen? Like I don't even remember that happening. So I did read though 4 books. 2 of the 4 are manga, so like 2 actual books and 2 manga for Buzzwordathon. The first book that I read was Two Dark Reigns. This is the 3rd book in the Three Dark Crowns series by Kendar Blake, and this is just continuing to follow the story of these 3 queens who have to basically fight to the death to remain queen. They're all sisters, they're all queens, and they all have to go through this battle to basically kill the other queen so that one is remaining. That's how it works in this world, and each of the sisters have different like abilities. Like one is an elementalist and she can control like the wind and the rain and stuff like that, and then one is a poisoner and she's really good at poisoning and being immune to poisons and all that stuff. So I really enjoy this book, which is a very weird thing for me to say because I'm not usually a huge fantasy reader, and I feel like this is pretty fantastical. Like the world, the abilities, all that stuff is totally new and I think kind of original, and I really enjoy it. I really like the 3 sisters. I really like the political things that are happening. It is detail heavy. It is a little bit world building-ish, especially in the first one. But if you can push through and get towards like the last 4th of that book of the first one, I think you really like it and you really get into it. I just can't help but think that this would make such a good TV show. This reminds me of Game of Thrones with just the drama and the political things and people dying and twists and turns. Like it's so intriguing and I just want this to be a TV show so badly. This one specifically I did really like. In this one we are following 3 different storylines, and what I appreciated is that all of the storylines that I was following, all the different people and where they were, what they were doing, I was invested in. There wasn't one that felt weaker than the other. I genuinely was invested in all 3 of the things that were happening, and then when they all kind of came together at the end, I was also really happy. So yeah, I do really still like this series. It's not an easy read, and so for that reason, it's not always the most enjoyable read, but I always feel like it's worth it. Like I'm glad that I know about this world, and I do ultimately enjoy knowing this story, if that makes sense. So I did go ahead and give this 3 out of 5 stars. And then the 2 manga that I read for Buzzwordathon was volumes 7 and 8 of The Promised Neverland. I am still absolutely obsessed with this manga. I talk about it all the time. It follows a bunch of orphans that are at this orphanage that find out that they are actually at that orphanage for kind of a sinister reason. That's all I want to say because I don't want to give things away. But I mean, I'm pretty far into the series now, so it's kind of hard to even remember what it's like going into it now that I just know everything that I know. But it's so good. It's so action-packed. If you're new to manga, highly, highly recommend. I have read a little bit of manga, not a lot, but a couple of series. This is one that I am genuinely still invested in. A lot of the other ones I kind of have stopped reading or like will pick up when I have the chance or want to, but like this one I sincerely am obsessed with and can't put down. These volumes 7 and 8, like things are just continuing to pick up. I love the pacing. Every book is just like, what's gonna happen next? And just the wits and the way they have to outsmart their circumstances. So good. I love these. I don't know what else to say. I really need to pick up volume 9 because I just need to know everything about what's going on. I don't think I've ever watched an anime before, but I do need to watch the anime for this. I'm just nervous. If anyone knows, does the anime keep going after volume 8? Like, I don't want to watch the anime and know what happens in the rest of the manga. I should probably research that. But I know I need to watch the anime, and I definitely want to get to that too as well very soon. I gave these both 5 out of 5 stars. So good. Okay, and so the very last book that I read in the month of November, which again feels like a total blur, was 8 Perfect Murders. This is by Peter Swanson. This is the book that I did read for my Buzzwordathon vlog, and it is an arc. It's the first time I've ever read an arc. It comes out in March, and it is a mystery thriller that follows the story of this bookseller who, when he very first started selling books, created this blog. The very first thing he wrote for this blog was 8 Perfect Murders, and it was this list of 8 murders that happen in mystery books that he feels are just the perfect murders. The perfect ways to murder someone and not get caught. Fast forward to so many years later, and this bookseller is now being accused of murdering people because there is someone going around using his 8 Perfect Murders list as a way to murder people. So he's obviously being questioned by the FBI, and that's how the story unfolds. That's all I'm gonna say. I did really like this. This was so original, in my opinion. I haven't read anything like this book before. It definitely felt more of a mystery than a thriller. A lot of books that I've read that incorporate like FBI or police or detectives, I just haven't loved. This one I really enjoyed because it remained from Paul's point of view. And so when he's getting questioned, when he's not getting questioned, when he's at the bookstore, when he's seeking out things for himself, like when he's even just revealing things to himself, we're finding that out as the audience. And I did really, really like that. I was a little let down by the ending. I really wanted something else to happen. The way that it kind of was unraveling, like it was just lackluster. It was just a little bit disappointing. But I still really enjoyed my time reading this, and I think that's where the magic of this book lies. If you love like classic mysteries, especially because he uses the 8 of the murders that he uses are from actual books. Like one of the books is The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which I know a lot of people have read and liked. I haven't read that yet. It's on my list. But he talks about all of these 8 books and the murders that happen, and it's very intriguing. And so if you've read a lot of these books, I think you'll really, really like this one. I haven't read any of the books, so I didn't know any of the murders. I wasn't familiar with that, but if you're a classic mystery lover, I do think you'll really like this one. Overall, I liked it. It was okay. It wasn't like the most mind-blowing thing ever. This book is definitely going to stick in my head as something kind of original, a little bit of a standalone, something I would recommend to people who really do like mysteries and are looking for something a little bit different. I enjoyed this book. I think that a lot of people will. I'm excited to hear what other people think when this book starts getting read. That's for sure. I want more discussion on this because I still feel like I'm trying to understand exactly how I felt about it. But overall, I enjoyed my time reading it. A little disappointed by the ending, but overall a good book. I think I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. All right. Well, those are all of the books that I read in the month of November. It wasn't that many compared to other months, but I did read some that I did really enjoy, and of course I reread one of my all-time favorite books, which absolutely was a great thing. So fairly enjoyable reading month. Y'all should let me know down in the comments below what was the best book that you read in the month of November. I would love to know. I love when we can chat and discuss about our favorite books that we've been reading. It makes me so happy. I hope that y'all have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are. I love you, and I will talk to you soon in my next video. Bye!